Hello and welcome, as it is the now the second day of January 2020. My name is Derek, and this is the Money Charts channel. All bets, trades, and of the like. That's within each's own risk and their own reward. For myself, risk-reward management is always job numero uno, or number one. Numero uno is my weak attempt en français. Je ne parle pas français, or I don't speak French that well, or much at all. Theta, 7,100 Satoshi against the Bitcoin. It had a month last month where it gained 97% against the Bitcoin after it, before that, had lost 26, lost 36 before that, 70% gain. And in this month already, only 25 hours and 20 minutes in, up 10.5%. Multiple time frames, 1 minute. This is just interesting. And we're getting at so many different levels. Like 5 minutes going to be like, it's not really, all time frames are different really. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 higher lows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Matching high now. Possibly matching high. Highs and lows are known after the fact. I mean, if it doesn't even go down much more anymore, doesn't even come close to the 18 lows in the 1 minute, breaks higher, then this high just won't count. Sort of like in here, this low doesn't really count. To a degree it does though, but 5 minute term has been in a downtrend though. However, I'm not going to do it, but Fibonacci from here to here, it's gotten above the 38.2%, now looking to go up to 61. We'll see how it goes. 15 minute term. I mean, that was in a downtrend. This one in here, we had this up move and a very big retracement mode, a price correction. As you can do whatever lows. Which lows do you want to do? Because all of these higher lows, we've seen the 1 minute time frame, all the higher lows that it made. Well, it made a lot of those higher lows on the 15. Up until this one, it was the first lower low. A lower high set in at the 15 stamp. And now it's establishing some sort of other high wherever it happens to be, as the price action amongst this time frame is just getting above the 18 average of highs. Had a pause period, and a good pause period from the previous one after it got up to it, the previous one. And this one was 7 minutes and 30 seconds ago, halfway through, is continuing to hold in there. So possibility of the rebounding coming into play on the single hour term time frame. It's still trying to hold and stay within the 18 average of lows. It fell below it, now trying to get in it. You got the 18 average of highs in at 73. If you see this thing get up to it, stay within it for some sort of expanded period of time, like multiple periods, 3, 4 even, and then you see it start to leave the 18, even if it is leaving the 18 on this one, you could say maybe this thing is going to attempt to, or going to start its reversal, because that's what the statement was made when it went below the 18 lows, that it wants to revert the trend because it's been in such a phenomenal up move. Of course, markets go up and down and up and down. That's just what they naturally do. And the correction on this is just down to the 18 average of highs. And if it continues to go higher, this is most certainly a dangerous statement, because you'd have to think if this keeps on going and go up to the 77 number, this could be very much weak resistance again, and then we could have yet another leg higher. We had a move to 67, then to 78. Maybe come up and test somewhere well in the 8s to the 9,000 range is the next leg higher, and then we'll probably pull back there after that. And this has just been a fantastic run thus far amongst the daily term time frame. But one of the things that I was looking at and focusing on was the volume today, and I just haven't been seeing it on both against the Bitcoin and against the Tether. As we had this volume here on December the 26th, which was the high for this intermediate term, and I mean close to matching volume in the session for New Year's Day. But when I look at the volume and I scroll it from this level here, we have the volume back in here from half a year ago when the price actually got up. It had phenomenal volume, but we're just matching the breakout volume from when it was getting past 2,100 into the 2,000s range volume of August and September. And we're just even barely testing that volume at best. I have to think it's going to beat this volume for what the high should be, because the likelihood that you are going to top a market on a good run, and it's already just a good run as it is, and most certainly can be better, and I think it probably because of this, I think it's going to be. thus five-figure Satoshi north of 10,000, even to 20 on this leg. But I would expect when it hits the day of the top that it would hit the big volume. Sort of like we look back in this period in here. We can see, the day of the top was the volume, and they're both the same day. That's just normal. And you see how you have this day here, you could have been like, okay, this is big volume, and sometimes you could have a move that comes later that would exceed that volume on higher gains. And I've said that before. Well, there's that one time in here. And then, of course, lower volume would continue through with the correctionary phases. That is just very, very normal. So that's what's telling me a little cautious, where I do what I still consider that of short selling. Meaning I'm not looking to make any type of aggressive sells on Theta. And yes, I'm selling my Theta for other coins, but I'm selling shorter than I normally, or less than I normally would. And for the dollar price, I'd be more comfortable when I see closer to in the $3 range, like $3.30, $3.40, $3.60-ish kind of deal. And I see this in five figures, and I see this with, most importantly, higher volume. So on the day I see the big price, if I see the volume picking up to big proportions, then I'm going to have to make some serious decisions on how I'm going to, how much I'm going to sell, where I'm going to put the coins into, and what my buyback strategies are going to be. As I feel Theta is most certainly for myself a very big long-term hold. And on the weekly term time frame, just a fantastic setup as I see in here. You establish resistance in here, come back, you kind of retested piercing extra, and then you have, what I like about this is two things on this correctionary phase compared to this one. One, look how fast within one period this thing goes from here down to here to the 18 average. This goes several periods to barely get to it. Below, it's like a continuously spending some more time, but as I mentioned, to spend the entire range of time above this level that it never could stay above on so many opportunities to get above well over 3,000 Satoshi. And it never could hold the 3,000 number. It has now. And to leave the 18 like it is in this spot, just a fantastic setup. And when you see it on the logarithmic scale, to me, it looks even better. I've shown it before a few videos ago, but yeah, I do believe this thing is at weak resistance as it is now for this, because of the fact of how well it's holding and staying above this. And the price actions only went down 75 to 3,500. So what do you decline? But what, barely over 2x or 50%? And I mean that serious when I say only 50%. When you figure this thing goes from 5,000 down to 1,000. This thing went from 4,000 down to 1,300. And even in this case, this goes down from, in the intra-session, you had an intra-day, week high rather, of 6,400 and a low of 2,560. So just within its single period, it had a move of a little greater than 50% or 2x in one period. And that's all about that nice holding within it. And this was a good move in itself, in the fact that it made a higher low to this and it held within the 18 lows. So this is just better than what was already good before. And it could have easily broken out on here on two things could have happened. When it was breaking on September 21 stamp, it could have just kept going. And next thing you know, the next stamp could have been a better green candle. And it could have been 12,000 on this period here. I mean, it wasn't, but it could have been, is what I'm saying, on September 28th or even October 5th period. And even this one here, whatever, just a couple correctionary moves and up it goes to a huge move. And it's 14,000, 16,000 kind of deal. Or it could have been a move down to this low and then it just rallied up. It didn't do that. Or it was this, it comes down to this Fibonacci line. And look how the rebound has just been phenomenal. I mean, within this week and, of course, the most previous week has just been phenomenal. How it's after 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 consecutive red candles down in an organized manner. I don't know which word to put it in. It's also telling me that the sellers of big game levels are just not anywhere near at this time frame in the game. And you can see that, of course, within the lower amount of volume that is playing within this market. So I'm thinking if there's going to be any sellouts from now, it's going to be, can we see the lows and highs well enough from here? I can. Okay, we got starting low at basically 1,000, the breakout lows on the stamp of April 20th. And then we have this low then this one. So if we pull back, I'm going to assume we pull back to 4,600. And I kind of hope we do. In that sense, I can get a couple buybacks that we've had just recently. Get some of these Thetas back for other coins that have just recently sold, like the Tezos and the Bitcoin Cash and Ripples and whatnot. And get some back. But what the market does, it does. And it's telling me, like I state, not selling too much at this time. Let's move on to that of Bitcoin. $29,309 as at January 1st, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, or January the 2nd at 1:30 a.m. UTC. 2 different days at the exact same time. And in fact, from 5 o'clock to the 7 o'clock a.m. Eastern time, it's 3 different days when you count an uninhabited island that still counts. But that doesn't really matter for this. Yeah, the sideways range that I talked about, what's the story of the market, basically? That's what it comes down to. So you have this sideways range in here. To start, I guess you can call it in there. And within that, there's stories within the story, but then you have the grand move. Stories within the story. Well, this little sideways move. This little sideways move. This was another small move itself, but you had a decent sized correction. You had a retracement situation from key low to key high. It didn't do too much, and it only really stated retracement in here that it was doing such. It only really had one leg lower from that point forward. And overall, it set up another sideways range, which then did all of this. A little bit of small moves here and there. Retracement mode again, from key high to key low. We're in early stages of breaking that. And when that's the case, whenever you have, especially with the range-bound market, this can be the weekly time frame, which it is. It can be the 1 minute chart. It can be the 15-minute whatnot, what have you. But you originally see, hasn't been that many periods of a break. Check mark. It's noticeably well above it, but barely above it. Well, what's your target for up price? At least 60,000. That's a 2x move, and I'm even thinking 80, 100, even a 200, 300 could be possible too. Okay. So that's coming into play. The way I look at it, there's a couple ways of buying it, and you can even do both situations, do what you want. And for me, I'm in neither because I've been in the game for quite some time. But the play is A, buy now. 29,334, whatever, and it could do something like this easy. We could even come back to here and make a higher. You got kilo. The last kilo was 3,882. The chances that we make a higher low, 90 what percent? You come back to where we come from at 12,000, it would have to go down 64-ish percent. When you're playing the long-term game, that's when you're talking. When you're playing the big numbers of doing like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8x score, then you almost have to do a 1x loss or 2x or no, 1x. Yeah, 1x loss or 100% basically, which is like, oh, stop loss here. Well, if you want to, it's up to you. But mathematically, we're playing a long-term game when you're talking about this type of strategy on the weekly time frame. One of the plays, and I'm so iffy on this type of play, is you wait for it to come back down in here where it came from, which is 20,000. You get a bit better of a price, a 30% discount. Thus, it doesn't cost you as much, or you're going to get more Bitcoin for doing such. And then, when it goes back higher, you're going to like it more. However, the scary parts about making that play for risk reward, good and bad. Well, the good parts is the better price. The bad part is, what happens if it doesn't go there? It maybe comes back, but not quite, or just doesn't even come back, and then you're just gonna miss out. And that's where the whole FOMO talk for people come in. Well, I was hoping for the pullback, and that's why people. I guess that's one of the reasons people buy these overextended markets more, and why you get higher volume more so amongst toppy areas. But that's it's an interesting, scary play on how you'd want to do it. And yeah, we can be making a higher low at 7,000. That's why it's like almost a guarantee. The thing will be is the less it pulls back, the more stronger the breakout is. So therefore, because of the fact that this move in here, because it at here, this wasn't much of a pullback. So if it had have came to test and break this area, like, oh my goodness, watch out, it should break it. Weak resistance at 20,000, but it didn't even attempt it. And because it had one decent leg lower after that, that's now going to make it, I mean, yeah, again, the same thing as, yeah, what's the chances to make a higher low over 224? Of course it did. And that's, I mean, it's not as easy as this one, but it's still damn easy on the one we're currently on to make a higher low to this. But because of this, now it's going to be a little difficult to make a higher high, and it didn't do it because of the decent sized decline. It could have, but it didn't. But the important thing is to hold this low. I mean, you really want to make a higher low. It kind of did in matching, and it didn't hardly had any time in here, so it practically spent the entire time making a low at 6,500. And it spent a decent amount of time trading between 3,200 and 4,000, 3,200 and like 4,000 or something in here. So it did successfully correct within that mode. Thus, when it managed to get up, it was able to break this level of resistance without even the need for the pullback here, because that could have been the spot on this. Okay, you think it's going to break out in here, you're waiting for the pullback, and that didn't, and you see it didn't happen, and there's a spot, and how do you do kind of deal. So now that we're in 2021, fundamentally, with all the things going on in the world, to me, it just things that are escalating. And one more note too. I was going to mention start of the year. So I'm going to say the prediction should be something like this. And when you look at how previous years are, this is just copying previous years. If I were to make the best bet on how the year is going to go, over the short term, which is the first couple of weeks of January, 3 weeks, I would expect a pullback from here. But not much of one. Maybe we come back to where we came from here. If anything, we spend very little time below 24 change. Minutes or hours. And the recovery after that, as we move into the next many weeks and months after that, is going to be phenomenal. And I'm just going on previous years. I mean, every year is a little bit different from each other, but 2020 started the year off in here. Now, it started off with a decent sized rally and had this move, and this was fundamentally for the different reasons. So other years, no, that wasn't like that. No, okay. Next year before that, let's check that one out. And 2019, we can see here the year started off with a little bit of a sell-off, and then it just had a great year to start. So a little bit of a sell-off to start the year, big move. 2018. Now 2018 was at a situation where markets were already way overextended. It was going to have to just pull back at some point. And it's always said, it could be at this point, oh my goodness, 7,300 way overextended. Well, it's got to pull back at some point. And well, technically it went higher. Oh, here we are, 10. Well, who knows how high it's going to go, but it's got to pull back at some point. Oh, up to 15, same thing. Oh, up to 20, same thing. Okay, and it did there. But it could have been 30, 40, 50 or whatever. It's just how it goes. And within it, the start of the year, because it happened just, what did we have at the start of the year? We have a little bit of rally to start, but decline right off the bat. But again, a lot of this happened to deal with the start of the year. Now, 2017 was a very interesting year, but we can even see in here, you have a little bit of a sell-off, and then the thing just gets going. And this is the more comparable time to where we are now for any of the other years, because that's when we were well above the retracement mode. The only little difference is back then at the end of the year, it was just resisting previous high after having a move of like substantial gains, like 200 to like 4 or 5x gain, and retesting previous high. Now it was having a 5x gain as well this year, or 6, 7x gain and breaking previous high. So pretty close to the same deal. as it goes. Now 2016, we can see how 2016 starts off with a little bit of a decline, a big down day we can see here a down day, of 16% on January the 15th, but it recovered it, and later in the year started to mend. So you have the early January sell-off, a couple weeks, maybe like predict like January 10th or 13th is when we're going to have the sell-off. I don't know. I'm just saying. January 5th, here we got in 2015, markets goes down to start the year, and that's where the bottom is. So it bottoms in the early parts of January. And January the 13th at that as well, too. Oh, okay, interesting. Now, 2014, how do we look at 2014? 2014, it pretty much was at toppy area. So it's similar to the 2017 situation, I would assume there. And then 2013, it started the year off at $13.24, but it did go down at one point. I mean, here, look at this day, January the 1st. Oh, it's January the 1st, it went down. It was $13.24, and Bitcoin, $13.24. 20. I mean, I guess these days don't really count too much, but I don't know, that's why I just see if there's any kind of trend. It does make sense that down a little bit and then back up. I mean, whatever happens. And for me as a trader, I'm just going to fast forward this and zoom it. I'm just not going to do much. And then push the auto. As a trader, I can only just adjust to the message of the market and act to what it is, and only price pays. You could say, oh, Bitcoin's going to be worth 60, 80, 100,000 in the future. Yeah, I can't sell it for that now. Short term, you could say, oh, this is way overextended. We got to pull back. I mean, at 27,000, that's easily going to do that. Well, maybe. And you can't buy it now at that price. You can put a buy order in to try to buy it at that price, sell order in to try to sell it. But at that stage, it's always going to be good luck. I'm going to look at Bitcoin dominance. I'm just thinking about that for the first time within this video, or for a while, I should say, when I say first time. First time in a while. Well, hourly time frame, it broke out above it at 1 p.m. Eastern time today, and a nice little bit of, I like this like a sideways line you can draw over like 5 different periods, and then a nice little big excitation at 1900 hours, or 7. So I was going to say 7. I mean, it says 7 p.m. Eastern time. But the daily time frame and all this is really where we want to go on it. And it just continues its ride higher. And when you draw the situation in from the story, you got breakouts somewhere around December 14th through 16th with a good green candle day on 17. It's been a phenomenal run. You got periods from 18 through that of the 21st and 22nd. You can draw a line again. And then you have a resistance established at 71.1 and a pullback. It's almost like an ascending triangle, but I mean, it's already broken the original neckline resistance and it's holding. You can draw another line again. Volatility was pretty much larger from like December 23rd up to December 30th. But I mean, today's data doesn't count because it's 8:44 p.m. Eastern as I'm doing this. That's only 1 hour and 45 minutes in the day. But the 2 previous days are lackluster in volatility, and the 2 days prior here were as well. On the weekly term time frame, yeah, you're in this little test of this previous high. You still got a little bit of extra little leeway till you hit the exact number, then a little bit more for piercing extra by a bit, just macroscopically beating it. It's overextended from the last short-term high on the November 16th stamp. And in such, this would be an interesting situation because it hasn't even really tested, and never in a bull market run at least, any of these higher percent numbers. And what I find interesting is there's really more cryptocurrencies. And what makes it harder for Bitcoin to dominate is the fact that there's more competition of other coins. So it's even more impressive, you could say, how Bitcoin is dominating other ones, or how other altcoins just might be amazing short-term buys possible. As you could say, this market is way overextended, and To me, do I believe any breakout? Well, I definitely believe a breakout could happen. This thing can hit like 76, 77, 78, what have you, maybe. But in doing so, am I going to believe that it is going to be able to hold and stay within this range for a while? Do I believe that this is going to be going down big? And I actually do. I'm very bearish on Bitcoin on the very long-term time frame. And for years, I've been stating within the Bitcoin, yep, we've had that 20,000 high. There's a damn good chance it's going to get above it and do that 60,000 to 300,000 leg higher on the long term. Oh my goodness, what happens after that? I don't know, and it's kind of scary. And what I'm expecting, and I don't expect any major signs of this. It's about, I think, $6 to sell Bitcoin a couple days ago. At least $6 off my what they call Trezor wallet. It was a transaction fee, and any hardware wallet is pretty much the same price, and it changes minute by minute, hour by hour. But I expect that to be a big problem as we move to those bigger numbers, 40, 60, 80, $100,000 Bitcoin, especially when it's a lot of Satoshi on top of it. We could be talking major triple figure prices that are just going to be insane, to say the least. And it did get maybe even closer to four-figure prices for a withdrawal. Don't be surprised if it's like $500 at some point to withdraw Bitcoin off the exchange. Or when I say exchange, I mean your hardware wallet. Exchange could even be higher than that. Right now, it's just crazy how if you want to take Bitcoin off the exchange, it's like $15 cost to do it. Just crazy. Because it's 50,000 Satoshi pretty much on every site. Crazy, crazy, crazy stuff, to say the least. Thank you for tuning in. Have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.